What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Pitching Ninja's filthiest pitches of the day. Remember, before we get to those pitches, hit that subscribe button. Never miss an episode of the best daily baseball show on YouTube. And now, without further ado, here are my filthiest pitches of the day. I'm going to start with Sandy Alcantara, who had 5 Ks in 5 2/3 innings, but gave up 4 earned runs. He had these overpowering 98-mile-an-hour fastballs and this pretty changeup, but raised his ERA on the season to 5.05. He faced off against Anthony DeSclafani, who had 6 Ks in 5 1/3 innings, giving up 2 runs, and had these painted backdoor two-seamers and paintish one, and also had this nasty slider. Bryce Miller had his overpowering fastball, including this elevated one, and this curveball off the plate. He had 4 Ks in 6 1/3 innings and gave up 3 runs and raised his ERA to 1.42 this year. Bryce Elder had 6 strikeouts in 6 innings, giving up 2 runs, had these changeups, wicked sinkers, and nasty slider. And he also made this nice behind-the-back play. His ERA this season is now 2.05, and he continues to do a great job of keeping opponents off balance. Speaking of off balance, Marcus Stroman had this cutter that made Bryce Harper bend the knee, and he had 4 strikeouts in 6 innings, giving up only 1 run. He outdueled Ranger Suarez, who had these curveballs and got a sword on one. Cal Quantrill had 6 Ks in 5 2/3 innings thanks to these fastballs. Kyle Gibson had 5 Ks and had this dirty curveball and sweeper. James Paxton had 5 strikeouts in 6 innings, giving up only 1 run thanks to his fastballs and changeup. Johan Oviedo had 7 Ks in 6 innings, giving up only 1 run, and had these sliders, including this painted slider and this filthy back foot slider that he gets the sword on. Tony Gonsolin had 3 Ks in 5 scoreless innings, giving up only 1 hit, and had this elevated fastball. He was up against Steven Matz, who had 6 Ks in 4 2/3 innings, giving up no earned runs. Got a sword on this curveball, and had these two-seamers and changeups. Martin Perez had 7 Ks in 7 innings, giving up 2 runs. And amazingly, look at him getting these calls again, and again. These pitches are out of the zone, but the umpires apparently love Martin Perez. He just regularly gets calls on pitches out of the zone, and he must have pictures of somebody or something. Brandon Bielak was outstanding with 9 Ks in 5 innings, giving up only 1 run, and he really relied on these filthy changeups. He got 10 whiffs on his changeup yesterday at a 56% whiff rate. Shane McClanahan was great again with 7 strikeouts and 7 scoreless innings. He relied on his overpowering elevated fastballs and wicked changeups. I mean, look at this changeup movement. That's 19 inches of run with that much drop. He has a 53% whiff rate on his changeup this year, and opponents are only slugging 173 against it. His ERA this season is now 2.05. And I love when Pete Fairbanks was asked how nasty McClanahan was. He said, "You can look it up on Pitching Ninja." Thanks for the love, Pete.
Today, he had electric stuff, Pete.
Always. We can go look him up on Pitching Ninja after this. It's that good. It's been that good. And, I want it to continue to be that good. And he is a dog, and we love to watch him.
McClanahan battled Adrian Hauser, who had 4 Ks in 6 innings, giving up only 4 hits and no runs. He had this dirty changeup and fastball for a sword. Ben Lively had 8 Ks in 5 2/3 innings, giving up 2 runs and 2 hits. He relied on these nasty sliders and cutters and this absolutely chalked curveball for a strike. For those who are wondering, chalked means it's on the chalk of the batter's box and not on the plate. Lively battled Clark Schmidt, who had 6 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 2 runs, relying on his sliders, knuckle curves, and fastballs. Is it just me, or does Schmidt's mechanics make him look like he has to pee? Anyway, this game was also marred by another potential sticky incident where Schmidt was told to wash his hands. Although after the game, the umpire said his hands weren't really sticky, they were just tacky, and they wanted him to wash off the fuzz from his glove. So really not much to see here. Although my alternate theory is they wanted him to wash his hands because of that whole peeing thing with his mechanics. Zack Greinke had 4 Ks in 5 2/3 innings, giving up 2 runs, and had this wicked slider and nasty sinkers and changeups. And of course, we had some strange Zack Greinke things. Here, Greinke throws a changeup the same speed as his 4-seam fastball. Yes, they're both 88 miles an hour, and remember, it doesn't have to make sense if it's Zack Greinke. And also, here's Zach Greinke grunting, one of the loudest grunts you will hear.
2-2. That was the loudest grunt of the day.
It's like he channeled his inner Tom Hallion. And also during the game, the White Sox showed my clip of Greinke and Salvi taking turns calling signs.
Pitching Ninja pulled it out on Twitter. Zach Greinke pointing at Salvi saying, "This is yours. It's your turn."
I'll take the next one. You call this. We'll see how it works out.
So he throws the pitch. Salvi made the call. You saw it on the knee pitch comm. And then Greinke doesn't like it. So then he calls his own next time. He goes right to the glove, and there it is.
And a thanks to Jason Benetti for the shout out. One of my favorite announcers in the game. Greinke faced Michael Kopech, who was the most dominant starter of the day yesterday, with 10 strikeouts in 8 innings, giving up only 1 hit. He absolutely obliterated the Royals with his overpowering fastball, just relentlessly chasing Royals like some paparazzi. Get it? Paparazzi chasing Royals? That's too soon. He also worked in this nasty slider. But my marquee matchup of the day was Joe Ryan versus Reid Detmers. Joe Ryan went 6 innings with 9 Ks, nice, and gave up 2 earned runs, and had these heaters as well as his splitters, and got a sword on one. And he faced yesterday's filthiest starting pitcher, Reid Detmers. Detmers had 12 Ks in 5 2/3 innings, giving up only 2 hits. He of course had his pretty curveball and overpowering fastballs, but look at this torrential downpour of sliders he threw in this game. He had 17 whiffs on his slider and had a 59% whiff rate on that slider for the game. And he takes the Clayton Kershaw approach to his slider, throwing very high velo sliders, with not a ton of variation in velo between his slider and fastball. But there's a good bit of difference in movement, and here's an overlay of his slider and fastball, and you can see why hitters would have a tough time with this. That slider disappears from the plane of the fastball. Filthy stuff from Reid Detmers. Now onto my filthiest relievers. Josh Winkowski had these cutters. Jason Adam had these frisbee sweepers with 22 and 23 inches of horizontal break. And I overlaid his sweeper with his changeup, and look at the distance these 2 pitches cover. Filthy stuff. Carlos Estevez had these sliders. Colin Holderman had these nasty sliders. Albert Abreu had this 99-mile-an-hour diesel. Alex Lang had this hammer curveball. Felix Bautista had these wicked splitters. Yennier Cano had this 92-mile-an-hour changeup, but gave up his first run of the season. He raised his ERA to .4. He still hasn't given up a walk this year. I put together this overlay to show the difference in Yennier Cano's arm slot and mechanics between this year and last year. You'll see last year he's in the orange jersey. You can see this year he's not pulling as much with his head's staying fairly level, as are his shoulders, which lowers his arm slot. And this minor change apparently has made a whole lot of difference in Cano's command and pitch movement. It's added 5.5 inches of drop on his sinker and 2.6 inches of drop on his changeup. Basically like a butterfly effect, where one small change impacts a bunch of other things downstream. Raisel Iglesias had this nasty changeup. Craig Kimbrell overpowered the side with this stuff. Jordan Hicks threw these flames, and now hasn't given up an earned run in 11 of his last 12 appearances. My filthiest pitch from a reliever yesterday was this elevated slider from Tyler Rogers. Look at that thing rise like a UFO. And I overlaid his slider with his fastball, and you can see what an anomaly Tyler Rogers is. He's one of the very few pitchers whose sliders fight gravity more than his fastball. So that slider appears to rise compared to a fastball because it really kind of does. And now, my pitching ninja moment of zen. Hey Siri, where do you keep your scouting cheat sheet when you're trying to run down a fly ball?
In my hand.
What is up, everybody? My picks of the day today are 3-leg parlay. I'm going to start out with Braxton Garrett for 5 Ks or more, then take Mitch Keller for 6 Ks or more, and top it off with Hunter Brown for 7Ks or more. Also, did you know that FanDuel is the only sportsbook app where you can bet the Preakness Stakes? And right now, all customers get a no-sweat bet, up to $20. That means you get up to $20 back even if your win bet doesn't win. I'm going to use my $20 to pick Kentucky Derby winner Mage to win the Preakness. I mean, why not? It's a no-sweat bet. And now I'm going to sit back and watch those two-seamers and horses run. Another Pitching Ninja dad joke.